everybody? Welcome back to Tavian's World of Reptiles. I hope y'all are taking care of yourselves, loving your loved ones, loving your reptiles. So, I'm hanging out with Antiope. I got her for right now. I got Shere Khan sitting over here. Hold on, let me grab him. Alright. So here he is. So here they both are. There's a reason I want to show them to you guys. Because you know, Antiope, my retic here, she is about almost 2 years old, right? And check her out. She's almost 2 years old. That's her. That's what she looked like. And Shere Khan here is just about 3 years old. Okay, that's what he looked like. Look good. This is Shere Khan and Antiope. Okay. Now, I want to do a video about them because typically when you find videos or whatever of carpet pythons or reticulated pythons at this age, they're big. They're big already. I haven't seen too many 2-year-old reticulated pythons. Mainland, she is not a dwarf. Reticulated pythons that are at this size. They are easily 2-3 times this size. And a lot of the carpet pythons that I've seen, though not as massively bigger at that size, at this age as the retics I've seen, they're also significantly bigger than what Shere Khan is right now. And I want to talk a little bit about why that is. I do not believe in feeding my snakes every single week, even when they are babies, because I don't believe that snakes in the wild eat that frequently. It's not a thing. And yes, I know that they're not wild snakes, that they're in captivity, so that means they get a little bit different treatment, right, feeding wise. But I do know that snakes go through some serious changes when they are in feed mode and when they're eating. Their bodies do some serious readjusting of their inner organs when they are trying to eat and when they do eat, and it can take some time before all those things shift back into place, and the snake's body is back to normal. And so I like to personally allow my snakes to have the time they need to adjust and properly digest their food, as well as allow their bodies to get back to the original functions that they were doing. Sorry, my words are not working out very well for me today, but so it is. It's super important for me to be aware of how much they're eating and how frequent. This is not bashing people who do feed their snakes every week. I personally don't. I don't think they need it. I think snakes that are slow grown in the long run actually end up looking better. Sorry about that, honey. I think their patterns and their colors tend to stay more vibrant longer when they are grown slowly, because I don't feel like their scales are being forced to expand and grow as quickly. So I think they do better. But that's just a personal opinion of mine. Like I said, I'm not judging anybody who does choose to feed weekly. It's just not what I choose to do for any of my snakes, even my babies, even Toph, even Skellington. They get a every other week feeding, and the bigger the snakes get, the less frequent. So my 3 snakes that are eating medium-sized rats right now, they get fed 2 to 3 weeks, usually closer to the 3-week period. Just because the meals are longer, it's going to take a lot longer for them to digest and a lot longer for it to all, get back to its original functions again. So I give them that time to do that, so that once they go back into feeding, their bodies are not being strained more than they need to get back to their original functions. So I definitely I feed my snakes every other week or longer, depends on what size they are. And it doesn't matter if they are babies or if they are kind of juveniles like these guys, or if they are adults like the ones that are on, you know, small to medium sized rats right now. And that's just my own thing. I don't There's so many different ways that people choose to do their feeding. I like the idea of slow growing my snakes. You guys have been watching my videos for a while. You've not seen any period where my snakes just did not look healthy. Yes, Skellington here, not Skellington. Shere Khan here did get out a long time ago before I moved here. He got out of his enclosure and he was gone for like, I think, a month or two. And he came back. When he was found, he was very skinny. And so he did have to get that body weight back, but I still don't think that plays overall for why he's so small. I think it's a lifelong thing that I've had him since he was a yearling, and I immediately had him on a every 2 week feeding, and so he's grown slowly, um, not unhealthily, but just slowly. And same with my reticulated python here. You know, sorry. She is 2 years old, and most of the time you see them at this age, they're two, three, four times this size. And I did not want her to grow that quickly. Not that I don't expect her to still get to that size, because she will. There is no stopping that. She is a mainland reticulated python, and she is going to get to however big she's going to get. She's not a dwarf. I'm not trying to force her to stay small. I just want her to grow slowly and nicely and healthily. I don't feel the need to rush her. I am not a breeder. I'm not trying to hurry up and get any breeding projects off the ground, so I don't feel the need to pump them with food on a weekly basis. And there are a lot of people who are feeding their snakes that are out this size every week. And some people who feed their snakes every week, um, they feed them smaller portions, right? So they're not eating as much, so it's not a big deal if they get fed every week, because they're still getting as much food as they need, but it's just smaller meals, and that's fine too. I like to feed most of my snakes meals that leave a lump, not a super huge lump, but a noticeable lump, um, but not too big of a lump. I know that reticulated pythons can eat meals that are about, I think, what, one and a half their width or something like that. So they can eat slightly larger meals. I don't feel the need to do that. Her meals provide her with a lump that I can see, and then she has her goes through the process. She digests it. She poops. I give her another week to she poops about after a week, and then I give her another week of just like letting her body get back to normal. And that's the same with all of my snakes. Like, it doesn't matter what age they are. There's never been a period where I have fed weekly. I guess there was when in the beginning when everybody was just like, if you have a baby, feed weekly. Okay, I did like everybody else. I fed weekly, and then I learned a little bit more about how the body of snakes go through the changes that they go through, and so I made the choice to adjust my feeding to be more realistic, more realistic on what they would come across in the wild and how often they would come across food in the wild, and that's not going to be weekly. I think particularly when they're small, it's definitely probably not weekly, because the smaller you are, the more ground you have to cover, the harder I'm sure it is to find food. And then of course the same goes for the giant snakes. The bigger you are, the harder it is to find food that actually takes care of you solidly. You probably have to eat a couple of smaller meals instead of just one big giant meal. The bigger you get, so it's just you gotta figure out what works best for you and your snakes. And so I personally don't believe they eat weekly in the wild. Therefore, I don't provide them with weekly meals in my home. I want them to grow naturally and healthily and slowly. Like, I'm not trying to stop them from reaching their growth, you guys. I think that's important to understand. You can't stop a snake from reaching its full potential. Yeah, you can stunt its growth by keeping them in very unhealthy conditions, but you can't really stop it from getting to be a giant snake if it's going to be a giant snake. Um, so yeah. Anyway, I just want to do that real quick. I don't want to keep rambling. I don't want to go on, but I want to show you guys. It's particularly my carpet python and my reticulated python, because they're the most like noticeable. Like if you compare my 2-year-old and my 3-year-old to somebody else's 2-year-old retic and their 3-year-old carpet python, mine are going to be significantly smaller. Not everybody's. I'm sure there are other people out there who also agree with slow growing, but most of the ones I see on YouTube are most. I follow a lot of breeders. Okay, so most of them are breeding people, so they they've got plans, and so they're working towards getting their snakes to that weight. In a shorter period of time than would normally happen, but also just because their snakes do need to be at a big weight, like they have to have high weight to get through these pregnancies healthily. So they definitely power feed a bit more than a person who is not a breeder would ever need to do. And I think there are a lot of people who are private keepers like myself who go off of the feeding schedules of breeders. And I think it's important for people to realize that if you're not raising breeding snakes, that you don't need to feed the way that breeders do. And that's just my own personal opinion. So like I said, I'm not gonna keep going on. I'm gonna let these guys get a little bit more free roaming and then put them away so that my rabbit can come back into the room, because they are having a hissy fit in the bathroom right now. So, anyway, you guys take care. Love yourselves. Love your reptiles. Love your loved ones, and keep spreading those herbs.